it were mine, I'd be like, I just want to chill at the station, man.
I'm so glad you are not any kind of investigating authority.
I mean, I've never claimed to want to be.
Good.
I'm not saying that, like, we should just throw innocent people in jail.
That's kind of what you just said. You just
But
said,
I can
let's get this wrapped up before noon so I can open a chili boy at
I'm
the
just
station.
saying I can understand the impulse to be like, ugh.
No, do your
This
fucking
guy,
job.
I mean, if this guy's putting himself in a situation where, oh, all your clothes are
Hello.
covered in blood, that doesn't happen to nice people.
They didn't do their job.
Throw away the
The first trial began on October 18th. The prosecution relied heavily on Coroner Gerber's damning evidence at the scene, along with the heavy media pressure to convict. Their last witness was Susan Hayes. Hayes confirmed the 2-year-long affair, and when Sam took the stand, he finally admitted to the infidelity. Unfortunately, in addition to revealing that he'd lied, he also came off as arrogant and glib.
Do you buy the
It was
logic
good.
that
How
they
was
were
your day?
clearly peddling here, which is, you lied about that, you could be lying about this murder. Nah, two different things, right?
two different things.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And it doesn't surprise me that he'd be arrogant and glib, because doctors are,
Well,
That's
that
good.
part you can understand.
probably hard to avoid. You're playing God every day.
Well, I mean, I'm also a doctor.
He's like, I have fixed brains.
No, every doctor does have to have bedside manner. You can't put a little bit of that up on the stand.
I don't know if the surgeons have
Hello,
to do that, though.
Moxie.
Oh, I guess you're knocked out.
They're like little Beethoven.
How you doing
Show
down
up
there,
early.
Mr. Madey? I'm looking at your brain.
Yes, I am the one who does what it is for.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do not have it on currently right now. But I am the one. I do not have it on today, sadly.
On December 16th, the jury found Sam Shepard guilty of the second-degree murder of his wife, Marilyn. Shepard received life in prison with the possibility of parole after 10 years, but the damage reverberated far beyond his sentence. Shepard's mother died by suicide just a few weeks later. His father passed away just days after that, and several years later, Marilyn's father would also die by suicide in 1963.
Okay, so there's, consequences to locking up the wrong person. I get it. Look, I learned my lesson.
That's kind of why I was going on to do the job.
Well, you have the luxury of knowing where this little weird garden path ends up.
I still think, generally, you should do your job. Not within reason. You do your job. Stop saying within
Should be
reason.
left
Don't be
drawing.
working nights and weekends.
No, what I said was, when you step in between work hours, you do your job.
Okay, now that I respect.
That's what I said at the beginning.
Okay, I thought you were saying, like, stay till 7:30.
No.
That's dinner time.
But this was only Shepard's first trial. His brothers continued to support him even after the devastating toll the trial had on their family. They hired a forensic scientist, Dr. Paul Leland Kirk, to review the state's physical evidence because Coroner Gerber had not introduced any fingerprint or blood evidence that could have exonerated their brother. Gerber had decided shortly after he arrived at the scene that Sam was guilty, telling another detective, quote, "It's obvious that the doctor did it," end quote. In 1961, Shepard's brothers hired a new attorney, F. Lee Bailey, who got the trial reopened on grounds that it was poorly managed by the presiding judge, Edward Blythen. Bailey argued
I am
that Judge
turning on
Blythen
Epic
denied
News
Shepard's
in a
defense
moment.
motion to move the trial out of Cleveland, where there was no chance of a fair
Thank you
trial
so
due
much.
to the biased press coverage, because he was seeking re-election and used the spectacle for his own gain.
You're this man.
I am this man.
You're a doctor. Ryan Bergara is a doctor.
Me. Doctor.
You've murdered your wife.
Oh.
Would your brother, Jake, nice guy.
Can we go back to the doctor part?
You're a doctor.
What is my diploma?
I don't know, but it's spattered with blood.
Is it framed nicely? Where is it in my den?
Yeah, it's in your den.
Okay, go back. Go.
Next to your wife's bleeding body.
Okay.
Because you've murdered her.
Jesus Christ. I didn't murder her.
Didn't you?
I didn't. I don't care. I don't think you're such a bitch.
We got there.
Popular syndicated columnist Dorothy Kilgallen, who covered the original trial, confessed years later that she had an unethical private conversation with Judge Blythen, in which he told her he saw the case as, quote, open and shut, end quote, and, quote, he's guilty as hell.
I'm sure your
And
drawings are.
had she reported
I'm
this
sure your
at the
drawings are
time,
good. But
Blythe
thank you for
would
the
have been
compliment.
removed from the case.
Sounds like a person who should be presiding over this murder case.
Yeah, very unbiased judge.
The most unjudgely thing I've ever heard, the most unhonorable thing I've ever heard. That's crazy.
Should be doing that as a judge.
No.
Yeah, I think you should go in there and hear him out, at the very least.
And he's the guy that's like, we got Applebee's in tow.
Yeah, he's me.
We gotta get out of here. That dude's guilty as hell. I got
He's
some
me
potatoes.
as a judge.
Yeah, that's Shane Bidet as a judge.
By July 15, 1964, Bailey's petition that Judge Blythen failed to shield the jury from media, making them biased, was granted. The court called Shepard's trial a, quote, mockery of justice, end quote, and ordered his release. Shepard's retrial began on October 24, 1966. Once on the stand, forensic scientist Dr. Kirk analyzed that the blood splatter would have covered the murderer in the victim's blood, but Sam only had one spot on his pants. Kirk also determined that much of the splatter came from the backswing of the weapon, indicating the murderer had used their left hand, but Sam was right-handed. He also noted that Marilyn's teeth were found underneath her body, meaning that she had likely broken them while biting her attacker. Sam had no bite marks or open wounds when he was examined at the hospital. But the most damning evidence was when Kirk revealed the largest blood spot found on the closet door didn't match Marilyn or Sam's, so was likely from a third party entirely.
Forensic science is crazy to me.
Yeah. Also not fun. I know people have a passion for these things, but gosh, imagine going home, being like, well, how was your day? How was my day? I don't know. It was great. I found some teeth under a lady.
Or I covered a knife in pink blood and I went like this to see where it would fly.
That actually sounds pretty fun. You know, they leave bodies decomposing out in the field. That's how they know. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. They leave bodies out and they just let them decompose, and based on how those look after a certain, that's how they like date how long bodies.
Okay, I think the musical is.
Didn't you say you wanted your body to be left in the field when you die?
It's a cul-de-sac, you know, and I want the vultures to be.
I still think dropping the gun will play and see what it's funny.
It's funny too. Do whatever the hell you want.
Just be at a red light, kind of change the radio station, just
Yeah,
right on the roof of my car. Holy shit, it's a noodle
What is
man.
it
Which
gonna
leads
be
us
long?
to our second theory.
I
Our
realize this is
second
gonna be
theory
long.
is that Sam Shepard was telling the truth, and his wife was murdered by a, quote, bushy-haired white form, end quote. Beyond Sam's statement, as many as 3 witnesses testified to seeing someone matching that description. Richard and Betty Knitter told the police they saw such a man near the Shepard's home around 3:30 to 4 o'clock a.m. on the morning of the murder, which lines up with Marilyn's time of death at around 4:30 a.m.
Just really quickly, I don't know why it didn't occur to me until now. What are Richard and Betty Knitter doing up at 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning?
School of WV Medicine, Uniontown Primary Care, is to provide good care for all of our patients. The most rewarding part of my job is building relationships with my patients and getting to see them through the good life events, not only the bad. I would encourage patients to learn to myself by coming to regular checkup visits. Be proactive about your healthcare. Get those wellness surveys done. Make sure you're having adequate follow-up on your chronic conditions and getting those managed to keep you healthy.
Lucas. My way.
What are Richard and Betty Knitter doing up at 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning? They had the presence of mind while doing that, looking out the window.
They're freaks. Looks like a bushy-haired white form.
Or they're like
And they're
against
like-
the window. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
look
that's
at
what
the
I'm
neighborhood.
saying. Yeah,
Look at the
yeah,
neighborhood
yeah,
while
yeah.
we do it. Who's that guy? I don't know.
Yes.
Right back to sweat.
You know what I'm talking about. Talking about sex.
I just know from my own personal experience, when I hear a bump in the night, my immediate reaction is not to go to the children. No, what happened? A phantom has entered my home! Exactly. I talk exactly like that.
Hello, is this 911?
And I had a cartoon phone too.
The devil is here! Send God!
They described him as, quote, white between 32 and 42 years of age, wide nose, bushy crew-cut hair, light auburn in color, bushy eyebrows, long sideburns, end quote. This was enough detail to provide a forensic sketch.
Sounds like Kramer.
No,
That's the last face I saw before this earthly coil. I wouldn't like it.
The presence of the bushy-haired man was substantiated in Shepard's first trial by medical professionals who attested to the seriousness of the injuries he sustained fighting Marilyn's attacker. A nurse testified that Sam's, quote, feet were all shriveled up, as if they had been in water a long time, end quote.
give me
Consistent
one.
with
Well, good
Sam's
drink.
story that he got knocked out on the shore. A radiologist said Sam's x-ray revealed a probable fracture of his second cervical vertebra. Two other doctors said there was no way to fake his neck spasms or the swelling at the base of his skull.
Yeah, it's not like he could have committed to the craft and knocked himself out in the back of the head and then put his feet in a bucket of water or something like that.
I mean, he could have knocked himself out by the lake, but
That feels like an insane amount of time.
But it was Sam Shepard's son, Chip, who would provide a name to a bushy-haired face. He had spent years trying to solve his mother's murder, and he believed that the blood belonged to Richard Everly. Richard Everly had been the Shepard's handyman for a time, and had intimate knowledge of the house's layout, including an obscure basement entrance. Additionally, he had been found in possession of 2 stolen cocktail rings that had belonged to Marilyn Shepard. However, when questioned about the murder, he passed a polygraph test where he denied killing Marilyn, which cleared him of being investigated further.
Polygraphs are stupid. Do we need to say anything more about that? Also, he had 2 rings that was wrong. I'm not saying that every time somebody in the house steals something, they're a murderer, but it doesn't look great.
I stole a little Lego man from one of my friends.
These actions haunt
Didn't murder him.
my days.
Despite being cleared in 1989, Everly was convicted of the aggravated murder of Ethel Turner. 9 years into his sentence, Everly gave a deathbed confession that he had also killed Shepard. One witness testified, quote, Everly told me that he had killed her, and that he hit her husband on the head with a pail, and that in Everly's words, the bitch would be hell out of me. End quote.
As much as like infidelity and
After
theft don't necessarily
years away from what I've
equate to
known,
this person's
and
moral
just a man
I would argue that
fighting for
different
his
murder
life.
Probably equates to committing another murder.
Would
I think you
the
have it in
world
that
see
way to
my
make
son
murder.
and wife?
someone else.
I agree with that analysis.
Case closed. Lock him up. Oh, I guess he's dead. He's dead. Put a skeleton in jail. Is there like a special graveyard for
There's a romance
murderers?
I don't think they do. That's an interesting thought, though. Like, what do you... It's a cool idea.
place.
to start go for?
Enemies of a
Skeleton.
monster.
Was Richard Everly telling the truth? Besides the main theories, there were 2 other suspects that raised some questions. The first one was Esther Hope. Everly Bailey believed that the murder of Marilyn Shepard could have only been perpetuated by another woman. There were rumors that Marilyn was having an affair with Esther's husband, Spencer, the mayor, and the first person Sam called that fateful morning. Bailey said of Hope's motive and means, quote, one possible motive is feminine jealous hatred, sparked in action by some event disturbing to the killer. A jealous killing requires a woman killing. End quote.
Well, everyone knows a jealous killing requires a woman killer.
Everybody knows that. Trust me. I'm a doctor.
Trust me, I'm a man.
During the retrial, Bailey got Esther to admit she had ignited her coal fireplace the morning of the murder, despite the fact that it had been a warm summer evening. He implied she might have been trying to burn bloody clothes and other evidence, and also that she was left-handed, like the killer. However, there was no evidence to prove Spencer and Marilyn had an intimate sexual relationship, and seemingly, no further legal action was ever taken against the hoax.
I'm tired of this. What is this guy talking about?
This seems like a flame,
Yeah,
especially when it's preceded by the handyman. This seems kind of out of line.
The second suspect was Major James Call. Ex-FBI agent Bernard Connors believed that Marilyn was murdered by Major James Call, an Air Force pilot who went AWOL in 1954 to embark on a murderous crime spree. Connors said the Shepard murder fits with Call's MO, in which he would break into a house of sleeping people and use violence against anyone he came across. A small crowbar found in Call's possession could have been used to cause Marilyn's injuries. Even more compelling, Marilyn likely bit her attacker, and Call had a scar that seemed to be from a deep bite mark on his left index finger. When they captured Call, they questioned him about Marilyn's murder, but never pursued a link.
Where's this guy doing? I don't know where this man. Is this guy?
mean, I think this is kind of common in most of these murder cases.
Where they try to link it to a notorious killer.
Serial killer, it just seems like, if not for the sensational life aspect of it, it's an easy theory to posit.
Can I be honest with you? This man sounds scary.
Obviously, this man's a murderer. I don't know if he's the murderer from this case.
Maybe not our murderer, but a murderer.
This sounds kind of like when you're asked to give like a quarterly report to your business, and you have to have a certain amount of figures to make it look like you're doing a good job. So, as a detective, you need a certain amount of theories, and you just pad it.
Yeah.
You pad your stats a little.
Yeah, you're making your essay a little
Hello.
more exactly up in the font size.
You're up in the font size of periods.
Yes.
That's what this person is doing. That's all. I used to do it all the time.
Fat circles in the middle.
You would never know. It was enough. It was enough.
Just I'm good, how are you? Is it one man to make this your grace burn? Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, that's good.
He solves crimes.
Walking away we
Whether it
go.
was Moog, Hall, Eberle,
I'm
or
19.
simply just not Shepard, reasonable doubt was all they had to prove.
I would say case closed in that aspect. Reasonable doubt has been proven in my mind that he did not do it.
I agree. And he spent roughly a decade in jail. So fuck that this is.
I thought you were getting choked up for a second.
But no.
I was like, this is what does it?
All because some lazy
You're
judge.
getting
Also, I mean, like,
nervous.
even without the
You're
judge, your spouse is
service.
your suspect number one. That's just how if it wasn't for that judge,
How long have I been alive for? Not long. 16
make sure
minutes.
they don't go for him. That's Shane Maday's disclaimer. Make sure your spouse does not get murdered at all costs.
Should. That's part of the deal.
And in June 1966, the Supreme Court ruled that Shepard did not get a fair trial in an 8-1 vote.
Just not
Shepard
trust
was
them.
acquitted. His innocence, however, remains in question. The last years of
Yeah, that
Shepard's
late.
life were not necessarily happy ones. Following
Oh
his
no!
release,
Hope
he
you find your
married a
phone still.
German who he had exchanged letters with while in prison. It was later discovered that her half-sister was the wife of Joseph Goebbels, Adolf Hitler's propaganda minister.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not good. I mean, half sister. So fine. We've all got weird cousins.
I mean, it doesn't mean that she's a bad person.
That's right. Like we got bad apples in our families. I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Like, if my brother went on a murder spree, I'm not a murderer.
No, you're a nice guy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I think you're a nice
Oh,
guy.
that's
Also,
awesome.
for the record, I don't think Jake would go on a murder.
And I don't think Scott would go on a murder spree.
We have great brothers.
What about us? Would you go on
No,
a
I'm not.
You get back
So we're
safely
good.
and
Shepard
we'll
had his
turn this
medical license
place into
reinstated and soon
blazes.
revoked after 2 patients died in surgery. His German bride divorced him, and he became a professional wrestler, working under the name Killer.
I'm happy for him.
I will normally not.
Cool that he became a wrestler. That kind of makes up for it.
You think that's a normal pivot you see? Neurosurgeon to wrestler? How many
It's
neurosurgeons?
not normal. That's why I kind of applaud it. You don't become a wrestler because you don't love wrestling.
Yeah, it happens.
I suppose, but to me it's as weird as if you became a pro wrestler after you do this.
Now I kind of want to see a sequel to The Fugitive.
Holy shit, man.
He also ended up marrying the 19-year-old daughter of his wrestling manager. At 46 years old, he died from liver failure after many years of alcohol abuse and depression.
It's certainly one of the stranger 6-year arcs I've ever seen. It's a sad arc that has weird, interesting details in it.
While not guilty, Sam Shepard was never really proven innocent.
Yeah.
The court of public opinion, bolstered by the ongoing media frenzy surrounding his wife's murder, made finding the truth impossible. Shepard's release was more about the mismanagement of the trial rather than the actual evidence in his defense. But one thing is for certain. In the early morning hours of the 4th of July, 1954, Marilyn Shepard was brutally murdered. And the truth of who killed her will remain unsolved.
Yeah, I had to find it.
What a doozy. Good
Yeah.
one, Ryan.
It's crazy. You know, that is an important thing to note.
As crazy as the circus was that surrounded Sam Shepard, lost in it sometimes is the fact that Marilyn Shepard was murdered. Obviously, that's a tragedy. And tacking on to that, it's a tragedy what happened to Sam Shepard if he in fact did not do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cling on to the memory of him being a pro wrestler.
I was gonna
Because
say,
it makes me happy.
all of these stories are awful and miserable. And
I have two things going on. I have BuzzFeed Unsolved playing on my phone, and I have Epic the Musical playing on my TV through Spotify.
Maybe in his last days, he enjoyed giving a nice elbow.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm walking away with that, and no one can take it away from me.
I'm fine with that.
The greatest warrior in the world. My God, the skill, music ball, the best
One way at Ollie's. Find brand name stuff. Up to 70% off the fancy store prices every time. Check out new deals at your local Ollie's today.
Maybe one day I'll need
Sizzling summer savings are going on now with Ashley Stars and Strike Sale. Create your stylish summer sanctuary for less with hot buys for every row, now just $6.99. Plus, for a limited time, you can save up to $1,000 store-wide. Don't miss upgrading your patio. Save up to 20% on select outdoor furniture.
I have to go to bed to this, so
Over time, get 0%
I'd rather not play Angel with a Shotgun. I love the song, don't get me wrong. It's a song I've listened to for years and loved for years. But I'm not gonna put it on because someone else. I'm sorry. I gotta go to bed with whatever I have on. But I'd rather be Epic the Musical. I hope you don't mind. But I really don't want to also take time away from. I also really do not want to take time away from this drawing more than I have to. Like just get ads on my phone or anything.
Which one? There's so many. Oh shit.
Did you have a dream with a snake?
I did have a dream with a giant snake
And your mom?
and my mom.
I'm looking for a
Her death was
mentor
actually
for
pretty nicely
Harrisburg.
done in my brain. There was a moment right before the snake was about to bite her. It was a close-up of her face. And she just it's okay, right? And then it was right like, and it was a wide shot. You just saw her legs out of
It is 12 a.m.
I was running.
Close to
and I'm
1
running,
a.m.
I turned to see it's into the shade, and when I'm turning,
It was like
I'm already seeing
12:33 a.m.
And I like for a brief moment was like,
Yay, your
that
pencil's
shade
been
was like,
found.
body,
It's great.
and just die off
Yeah,
something
yeah,
essentially. I've seen
You
it.
seem like the guy who's sort of like,
Yeah. I'm not shouting fight, but if I'm gonna sit here and
bite his
pretend,
fucking nose off!
yeah, dude, that's exactly me.
Now I'm just imagining like two construction guys who this guy being like, hey, I think this is Edgar Allan
You're a
Poe's
couple.
skull. You hearing this? What do you think's in here? It sounds like there's a little penny in here.
You're a couple hours behind me or ahead, whatever time zone it is.
Around Florida that are infected with herpes.
Ah,
Figure out some
I live in
stuff
Pennsylvania.
to shape up.
They're loose in St. Augustine. We were just there.
We were just there.
We were just there.
Narrowly missed.
Narrowly missed.
Can you imagine being in
It's
that
like a
lighthouse and a crazy herpetic
2 hour
monkey
difference.
just running up the stairs at you?
Just that bad boy gang of monkeys.
That's an hour
Bandanas
difference.
on and shit.
Yeah. You get on the little sleds and you go down them. You don't want to do it on your bare bottoms. You gotta get some
Stand up your bunghole.
probably mix with one.
I'm sure, like, probably a variety of
Series has up on all this food.
Bugs. It would be low, I thought inside.
No, I don't think there's bugs in your asshole.
No, sorry. I don't assign random people mods unless I know they
That's not
can.
what you were going for, then I thank you.
Unless I know them personally.
What's this about?
Sorry.
Oh my god. I told you, I thought you were giving birth.
The violent state in which the body was left pointed investigators towards murder.
I just spit coffee on myself. Chief, I'm gonna go out on a limb here I don't think this lady cut her own hands off and smashed her head to bits.
I ain't no scientist, but that doesn't seem natural to me. That doesn't look like no surfing accident. And I know surfing.
I'm
But
drawing
for instance,
Nightwing.
If I were to come
You
up
could
to you
bonk me in the head right now,
and
then I'm out.
you know what's happening,
Yeah,
gone.
you're right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Fine. Timing keys.
I'm just in the shading process right now.
Yeah, and it's always on the license.
It's not a creepy mustache. You don't have to call it that.
You certainly went into a creepy character, whatever the hell that was. It's not a creepy mustache. I don't know what you're calling it.
Stephen King's son is also a creep. I mean that in a nice way. Well,
Thank you. It's not finished yet.
If
Thank
I'm
you.
not on
You're
it,
backpedaling fast
I
now.
don't have a blog where I'm like, I think that is a little bit of a creep.
You don't have a blog, but you do have an internet show. And Stephen King is the master of horror
Yeah.
and cocaine.
Thanks. Thank you. And I will slay as best as I can. Most of my slay goes to the Sid. Queer rating icon.
You said Cujo.
I am trying Studio Paint, but if you're asking,
I was
ooh,
correcting you, and I was like, why do you
nice.
keep
I didn't
saying
see I got 651 subs. Thank you for telling me. I'm sure your art's great as well. This is Clip Studio Paint. I am drawing on a Samsung tablet if you're curious. Oh, what device I'm using.
No! Anytime anyone said, I'm like, no, I want
The
this
app I'm
now,
using is
but I
Clip
used
Studio
Train
Paint.
Vine, and I loved Vine. They didn't have that back then.
You need a subscription to get it uninterrupted though.
They weren't doing that back then.
It was a
I'm
simple
a
question. Would it be fun to
free trial right now.
turn it into some kind of like
Would you like to
philosophical?
live back then?
No, because I probably can't exist anywhere beyond the 60s. Yeah. You could say Robbins was the first guy to relate to elevated experiences in terms of just what could be considered a very standard experience, like a movie.
And yet didn't cross the line, you know? Didn't have people
Yeah,
crawling
it's
through the
like
aisles like, who wants to walk buffalo wings? How about you? Fuck off. I hate
This is not going to turn into bashing.
Yeah, Shane's got some takes about elevated theater experiences. They shouldn't exist. I don't
Thanks.
want to smell onion rings while
Thank you for
while watching
subbing.
I will agree they should not serve fish and chips. It's strange. I
should
should
only be serving popcorn. Maybe a hot dog.
and drinks.
Maybe some nachos.
What's it? Why you? So they should only serve things that fit your head.
Yes.
I have a Discord on my community tab if you want to join. If you do join though, make sure if you join it, make sure you get your roles if you join my Discord server.
Try it.
My brain is large. That's many synapses.
I could already hear people typing away, making that into a GIF. Nothing is more confounding than the contents of a purse found next to her in the car, a bag containing lipstick, a cigarette case, some handkerchiefs, and a coin purse which itself contained the key to the side door of her apartment building.
Why is that confounding? That's
Why was she in the garage?
Because somebody fucking killed her.
Oh, I know somebody killed her. We're trying to list reasons why somebody maybe didn't kill her.
Somebody, spoiler alert, somebody murdered her. I don't think we can talk about it. I don't think we can. We gotta move from the top.
What are you doing here?
We can't talk about your head.
I think we can talk about
No, I want to know about the mystery. I don't want to know about your head.
It slid in nice and easy the first time.
You didn't slide. You're a wedge in it. Yeah, you gotta own it. You can't just give it. Well, the reason. Here's the thing. You gotta own
Right,
it.
look
Skinny
at this.
green at
Not
1.17
this
inches in
show.
diameter. That's like
I have to turn that on first.
that.
No diameter.
Damn.
Oh yeah, diameter is all across radius. Is
Radius would be the half.
Noticeable.
so probably that.
That looks more than 18. So, oh no, wait, no, 24 would.
I wish could we measure this right now? I feel like I'm dead on.
I would love if you were dead on. Oh shit, you're back up so the camera can see.
On my phone I have BuzzFeed Unsolved. And on my TV it is Epic the Musical on Spotify.
You're pushing me. Sorry. get on.
What are you talking about? I almost
Get
had
on.
a foot.
I'm going by my tips of my fingers, but
That was not 24. He just pulled out a ruler. He did what you requested
That
him
is
to
not
do.
true.
I refuse the evidence of
That was
using the
not
ruler that I requested. Of course, I'm not wrong. It's a 20.
Let's do it again.
No, we're not
Please.
doing
I
this
mean, these
again.
are roughly.
What?
You
they
just
were.
changed your hands. There's no
No,
way
this
we
is where the. They were
I don't know what
almost
you're saying,
there.
please,
You
too.
can't just recount it.
Cars. Vader would not put a bell.
He would just torture the youth of our generation and the adults of our generation. It's fucking. The woman may have sought safety in the woods, going out on a limb. Please suppose that the woman may have been attacked and gagged. Jesus, how do you write that in the same sentence, man? Come on, dude. There's no such thing as a super.
Agreed.
What are we arguing about right now?
Oh, nothing.
I said it's easy to agree that Bella was not a supernatural witch.
I mean, how do I know what you believe in?
That's not fair.
You don't believe in witches?
I've said that before. I do not believe in witches. I believe in ghosts. That's a different thing. That's a soul. That's a soul leaving the human body.
I believe in hot dogs. I don't believe in hamburgers.
That's not even on the same train of thought. You can bounce your caterpillar eyebrows up and down.
I'm gonna check something because I think that got what you asked got hidden. I'll pull it up on my phone. Nothing. I was seeing something that got hidden.
And then,
I hope this fucking episode airs concurrently with that silly Harrison Ford dog movie because God, I can't wait to see it. It's not sponsored. We're not.
that dog don't look right. Yeah, I don't ever want to be on a jury.
No, neither do I.
It was like our duty as Americans, but
It's a weird thing to think that two idiots like ourselves could make the call on somebody's
you
life.
shouldn't leave it up to us. You really shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think.
Like, recruit from Mensa or something.
But I don't trust myself to preside over the cooking of a bagel on the toaster. That's like, I burn it all the time. You expect me to make a call on somebody's life, give it a yes or no like I'm communist? That's insane.
The other day I turned the stove on to boil a pot of water and I turned the wrong burner on and I set a towel on fire.
Yeah, let's put this guy in charge of the murder trial. The guy who can't boil pasta. I don't want to get up. I've actually woken up in the middle of the night and been like, oh, I have to pee.
So,
I'm sorry.
piss the bed.
And then I just piss the bed. And I just coat those sheets in my urine.
Nice and warm.
Nice and warm.
Till it ain't. That looks like that's a fat manila. That's a
What?
fat manila, baby.
Sorry, I thought you were like trying to be like, stick to the screen.
Well, now let's give it a thorough up and down.
He's out, right? I got so distracted by the tongue thing that it's like, it was so gross. Yeah, see, in the original version of this episode, which was the first episode,
I honestly remember nothing from it. I watched it when it came out, and I remember thinking,
what a fun
this thing
ride.
ain't going nowhere. I'm just kidding.
Having a record,
How's this baby? Drunk driving.
having
Who gave
a
this baby whiskey. Unbelievable.
having a general record of somebody's identity. Mr. Mom should. Mr. Mom should know.
Just not out of here. Every time you deliver it, you're like, WTB and panicked me. Tinting to Sam, stupid. I got nothing. Someone's calling.
It's probably a cow.
Don't. Hello?
I don't really expect you to like
Wait, so the
all
friend
the
was for
for me. It's just a type of
Yeah, and
mystery.
for everything else.
everything.
Everything.
Nobody cared who I was till I put on the mask.
What the hell? Sorry, ignore me. I'm commenting
This
on
week
my
on BuzzFeed
video.
Unsolved, we shine a
being
light
stupid.
on the mysterious disappearance of 3
BuzzFeed.
lighthouse keepers from the isolated Planet Isles.
Shine a light.
It's a pun.
Off to a great start.
That's right, a punny start.
Yeah. I'm excited.
They really upgraded our office this season.
We really knocked down that wall. I didn't realize how beautiful it was behind
Well,
that.
open concept is in now,
Yes,
so I thought it
yes.
would be nice to have us out here. What do you think about lighthouses?
Well, we know I love them. I want to live in one and I want to die in one.
Do you think you could ever be a lighthouse keeper?
100%.
What if I told you you were going to disappear?
Sounds good. After this year? This little funny humor. I didn't realize how much I could slap my thighs out here without the desk in front of us.
Should we get into it?
Please. Oh.
The Flannan Isles, also known as the Seven Hunters, is a group of uninhabited rocky islands off the western coast of Scotland. The mysterious islands allegedly had a profound effect on sheep, and shepherds would sail their flocks to the islands to graze. Sheep who died on the grasses of the Flannan Isles were said to give birth to twins or recover from illness. Despite its positive effect on sheep, legend of a spirit haunting the islands kept any shepherd from staying overnight.
That can't be real. Sheep magic? What are you talking about? Huh?
Well, apparently it was not so much the sheep that were magical, it was the grass.
Magic grass for double sheep?
For twin sheep or for a sheep with a cold.
Hello.
Okay.
Nevertheless, in 1896, the Board of Trade sanctioned construction of a lighthouse on the largest of the Flannan Isles, Eilean Mor. Eilean Mor is also home to some bothies, a Scottish term for a small hut that now sit in ruin, as well as the chapel of St. Flannan, the namesake for the islands. In December of 1899, the lighthouse was completed and lit for the first time. 4 light keepers were assigned to the lighthouse, each of whom would work a staggered rotation of 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. This meant there were always 3 men on the island tending the lighthouse at one time.
Good to have pals.
It's nice to have company when you're stranded on an island.
Well, I guess if you don't have any fellas around, you got those sheeps anyway.
It's just nice to not die alone, you know? I mean, we're talking, but this is unsolved, so things aren't going to happen that are great.
In mid-December 1900, 1 year after the lighthouse was first put in service, the 3 men stationed on the island were James Ducat, the 43-year-old principal keeper with a wife, 4 children, and 20 years experience. Donald MacArthur, the married 40-year-old occasional keeper who was covering for the first assistant keeper who was on sick leave, and Thomas Marshall, the youngest of the trio at 28, and the second assistant keeper. The 4th keeper, Joseph Moore, wasn't on the island, as it was his 2 weeks off.
The youngest was 28 years old.
That's right.
How old are you right now? 29?
I'm 29, so let me put myself
Put yourself
in.
there.
If you could choose your fate, would you?
Lighthouse. Lighthouse. I love working at the lighthouse.
What is wrong with your face?
I love. Give me one impassioned one. I want to hear from you. Now that we've workshopped it.
I love working at the lighthouse.
I don't know, man. I love
working at the lighthouse.
working. This isn't offensive, I don't think. I apologize.
If you're Scottish and you're offended by this, you should be.
Around midnight on December 15th, the steamship Arctur passed near the Flannan Isles. Captain Holman noted that he could not see the light, though the conditions should have allowed him to. When the Arctur arrived in port, it reported the absence of the light, though this was never communicated to the Northern Lighthouse Board.
Pretty active board, I'm imagining there.
Well, are the lights on? Yep. Good.
Okay, check.
Then just kicks back. Yeah, that's a lot. They are working. Another day of work.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
On December 26th, the lighthouse tender ship Hesperus made a routine visit to Eilean Mor. When nearing exploring the island, Captain James Harvey found it odd that there was no flag on the flagpole. The Hesperus sounded her horn to try to get the attention of the 3 lighthouse keepers, but there was no response. They then attempted
When did I
firing
start
a flavor.
drawing?
Again,
I was in
no
5th
reply.
grade.
Joseph Moore, the 4th lighthouse keeper,
Got a
was
little
on board
late
the
start.
Hesperus, with no signal coming from the island.
I was
Or,
drawing since 5th grade.
LegalZoom gives you
I'm not
step-by-step
kind
tools
of.
to set up your LLC quickly and
No,
confidently.
I was
If you're
also
someone who
really
wants to
used to it. Just being
DIY
really
it, LegalZoom's tools guide you through the process so that
Stupid
you know
ads.
Fourth lighthouse keeper was on board the Hesperus. With no signal coming from the island, Moore
I
was
couldn't
sent
tell you
ashore.
when exactly I
Upon
started.
arriving at the England Moors
I
East
know
Landing,
I started
nothing
digital
appeared
drawing in
amiss.
5th grade.
Everything was where it had been when Moore had last been on the island.
5th or 6th
Moore
grade.
made his way up to the
started
island where he
digital
found
drawing.
the entrance gate, the entrance door, and the door
Oh,
after
nice.
that, all closed. The kitchen door was found open, however, and the fireplace had not been lit for several days. All of the clocks were stopped. According to Moore, quote, I then entered the rooms in succession, found the beds empty just as they left them in the early morning, end quote. With no sign of anyone, Moore realized something was seriously wrong and returned to the Hesperus to get more men to help him investigate. They found the lamp of the lighthouse to be in working order and fully prepped, but there was no clue as to what happened to the 3 missing men.
So Moore went ashore to knock on the door, is what you're saying.
You're right. I like that. I always find that when people are missing and nothing is out of place except the people, spooky, very eerie. There's something about it.
I guess it would be scarier if there was like blood everywhere, but
I actually don't think so. I think that would be a bit much. It takes a little more nuance to scare the Bergmeister, as all of you have seen on every episode of this show.
Moore and 3 others were left on the island to operate the lighthouse while the Hesperus sailed back to telegraph the Northern Lighthouse Board of the disappearances. The next day, Moore and the others set about the island searching for more clues. While the East Boat Landing, where Moore had arrived the previous day, was in perfect order, it was a different story at the West Boat Landing. The West Boat Landing was damaged, and a box that had held tackle and mooring ropes was gone. The ropes were found strewn on the rocks, and the iron railings around the area had been broken, with some completely missing. That damage, however, was already detailed in the keeper's log, implying it was not directly related to the disappearance. Most notably missing upon further investigation was a life buoy for emergencies, which had been kept among the railings approximately 110 feet above sea level. The ropes holding the buoy in place, however, had not been removed by man, implying that the sea had ripped the buoy from its spot.
bad buoy business.
Seems kind of lazy, no? It's 110 feet up in the air, and you're just like, yeah, must have been the ocean that took that bad boy out.
110 feet up in the air?
Yes.
I don't get that. What?
I guess you could have like a big cowabunga wave, but
I'm not buying that.
then what are you buying? What's on the shelf?
I don't know. Oh, it's some object working. Yeah, go for it. What is that? Looks like Gatorade?
Looks like a can of alien juice.
Is that where this is fucking going? Is that where this is going?
It doesn't have anything else on it, it just is alien juice.
Oh.
While some may question whether a 110-foot wave is possible, historian Mike Dash found evidence from a lighthouse keeper in the 1950s that water has splashed on England Moor as high as 300 feet up, wetting the lamp house. In fact, while trying to photograph these waves, the lighthouse keeper was almost washed away himself by a large wave.
Good for him.
Getting up there close and personal.
It's scary to take a photo of a big wave.
You guys gonna end up on Kook Slams.
He would end up on Kook Slams.
Whoa, it's slippery up here on these
1950s
rocks.
lighthouse keeper gets done. Hashtag Nutbuster.
Back at the lighthouse, by taking inventory of the clothes left behind, Moore was also able to determine exactly what his co-workers had been wearing when they disappeared. MacArthur, in particular, had left behind the only coat he was known to wear, implying he had disappeared into the cold of a December in coastal Scotland without a coat. They also discovered the logs from the keeper's final days.
It doesn't say whether or not they were in the toilet. I knew that's where he was headed. We had to let him go there. He's gone there. Come on. He's happy about it, and we can keep on moving.
Their final logs. The last entry was from December 13th, but a slate had details from December 14th and 15th, including the time the light was extinguished on the morning of the 15th, as well as atmospheric readings as late as 9 a.m.
I didn't realize they were up to more than just flipping a switch. So they're doing like readings and stuff?
They gotta tend to the grounds too, upkeep. I'm sure that like when you mow the lawn, things like that,
Yeah.
make sure the fence has proper paint on it. If you're in a coastal area, the elements there can be harsh.
They probably are.
Erode away at the structure and your sanity.
Oh.
The salient point to take from all that is the fact that they weren't saying like, maybe my last log, I saw a big ass wave outside and it looks like it's coming towards me. Sure. Nothing like that.
Okay.
So, seemingly a normal couple days there.
The log noted morale had been low amongst the keepers. Peculiarly, it also made note of recent strong storms and winds, though there had been no reports of storms in the area. So, either the turbulent weather had been extremely localized over their islands, or the men had hallucinated or fictionalized the storms.
Have you ever been so jacked up that you imagine there was a thunderstorm outside your house?
You cracked the case.
Have you ever been so jacked up that you imagine there was a thunderstorm outside your house?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Too much of the devil's juice and you're like, oh, look at those clouds.
What if two of them are real mean and they're playing pranks on the third one?
They're creating a thunderstorm?
One source reports the discovery of additional logs made by the 28-year-old Thomas Marshall. Within, the second assistant keeper detailed how the storms had been so frightening they had caused the men to pray, even though their location atop a 150-foot cliff in a building that was only a year old practically guaranteed their safety. Marshall describes Ducat as being very quiet in recent days, and the gruff MacArthur had been seen crying. The final entry read, quote, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." End quote. While some have poked significant holes in the authenticity of these logs, even if true, they still don't offer much explanation for what could have happened to three vanished men.
Sometimes things could make you sad. You know all about that, right? Master of emotions.
I cry all the time. I cried at Little Women a year ago.
The film, right?
No, I just saw some Little Women on the street and I sobbed.
Why are they so little? It's the way you said it. It really sounded like you were at Ralph's. And you saw some like the little women picking out fruit.
So the storm was not the thing that wiped them out, if these logs are true.
That's not necessarily true because they could think the storm's over. I mean, how accurate to these guys? They're not Al Roker. You know, he never gets it wrong.
He never does.
He never does.
Great guy. Love Roker. Shout out to Roker.
Big rogue head over here.
I'm a huge Roker.
You watch him on Roku?
I watch him on NBC.
With the island completely searched and turning up few clues, there was one man who might still be able to shed some insight on the keeper's final days. One Roderick Mackenzie. Because there was no radio contact with the lighthouse, the men on Elon Moore were essentially stranded. If something happened and they required assistance, they needed a way to signal to someone who could get help. Lighthouse keepers would do so using poles with balls or discs attached to them and placed coming out of the lighthouse balcony, hoping someone would spot their message. 18 miles southeast of the island is Gallen Head, where gamekeeper Roderick Mackenzie was paid £8 a year to watch for communications from the Flanning Isles. Each night, Mackenzie was to know whether he could see the light and whether any signals were seen during the day. When investigators checked in with Mackenzie after the disappearances, he reported that he had been unable to see the actual lighthouse tower between December 7th and December 29th. He had, however, been able to make out the light on December 12th, but not again until Moore lit it on the 26th. Mackenzie admitted the absence of the light for 2 weeks had concerned him, but there's no indication he reported this to anyone until the Northern Lighthouse Board came to question him.
So it's essentially his duty to check on them to make sure they're okay. And, he couldn't see the lighthouse for 2 weeks. It was
Even
like,
worse, it was his job to see if something was weird and then report it, and he was like, that's weird. Let's get back to this sausage I'm cooking.
well, wait it out. It's only been 1 week and 6 days. We'll see how this shakes out.
Inaction was not what Mackenzie was being paid those £8 a year for. According to the National Lighthouse Board, Mackenzie had agreed to report a failure, quote, immediately by telegram to head office in Edinburgh so that the necessary steps could be taken to have someone sent to carry out any repairs as soon as possible, end quote. Had an actual lighthouse keeper been appointed to that role, he likely would have reported the darkness much sooner. It should be noted that Ducat, the principal keeper, had asked the Lighthouse Board's superintendent if an experiment of sorts could be done, with the aim of seeing how long it would take someone to notice a signal from shore and respond appropriately. Alas, the experiment was not approved, but Ducat would ultimately get his answer. Way too long.
I guess it's a little too late for an I told you so.
I mean, he can still say it, just...
But he did bloody well tell them so.
With 3 lighthouse keepers vanished into thin air, it's time to jump into theories about what happened that cold December on Aylen Moor. Our first theory is that the men were accidentally swept into the sea. Perhaps a wave caught the missing tackle box, scattering the contents about the rocks. If 2 of the men went to try to retrieve the supplies and a wave swept one away, the other could have ran back to the house to get the third. It's possible that third man was MacArthur, who could have run out to help without grabbing his coat. Perhaps while trying to rescue their co-worker, the others were hit by a renegade wave and likewise swept out to sea. As we've already discussed, enormous waves have been known to hit the island. So, even if the keepers thought they were far enough from the shore, they may have been caught off guard. There's also the possibility the men could have literally been blown from the island. The nearby Butt of Lewis had been at one point considered by Guinness to be the windiest place in the UK.
What's funny about that is the Butt of Shane is the windiest place in the U.S.
You have that one locked and loaded?
Oh yeah, I did, baby.
No bodies ever washed ashore, leaving room to question this theory. How could 3 experienced lighthouse keepers be caught so off guard? Especially if one had already been swept to a rough sea. Why would the other 2 risk themselves?
Oh, man! You know, they're like, well, let's help him. You know?
Alright, fuck, he's back in the
Throw
ocean.
a rope down there or something.
We've all felt that sinking feeling. Did the kids forget their keys? Are they locked out? Security cameras aren't.
Yeah?
Alright, fuck, he's back in the
Throw
ocean.
a rope down there or something, and then, whoa, whoa, you know, whoa, we're all in the sea now.
I would think that they have some sort of protocol when one falls in and it doesn't immediately become... They
What if they're drunk?
start slipping
What
around.
if they're drunk?
I guess what if they were drunk? Yes.
If they're hallucinating, even worse?
Look, it's possible. I just don't think it's very plausible.
Perhaps because of the romanticism of an isolated Scottish island, some theorize one or more of the keepers could have had a psychological breakdown, leading to their demise. As the logs described, morale was low amongst the keepers, and there was the possibility they were hallucinating storms. Perhaps a fight broke out with one keeper killing the others, tossing their bodies into the surf, then leaping into the ocean himself. MacArthur in particular was known for his rough nature and violent tendencies. There's also speculation that a romantic relationship could have sprouted between the men, then soured, or that one went mad, running off the cliff while the other slipped chasing after him. Because there were no indications of violence found on the island, however, this theory is based mostly in speculation.
Lighthouse? More like fight house.
Needs work. It's perfectly plausible that one of them may have lost it out there on this island.
But there wasn't any indications of violence, and I would assume, being, 3 grown men, you would see some signs of a tussle.
Yeah, that place would be marked up,
Yeah, probably.
Just some scuffs.
Like, no one's gonna go out there like, all right, take me into the ocean, I guess. Here you go, I'll wrap myself up so I can't escape.
There was no way for them to get off of there on
I
their
don't
own.
understand
They
myself.
could have just bailed.
Like if all 3 of them walked into the ocean.
Well, because you said 2 of them could have been in love, and I'm thinking, well, what if all 3? They were like, this works. What we got going here, this works. The 3 of us, we're in love. We're 3 men who love each other.
Tripod.
A tripod. Let's get out of
And
here.
then one day, one of them says, I think this should be a bipod instead.
Oh no, I'm saying the 3 of them lived happily ever after and just, moved to Jamaica or something.
Oh, I see.
Our third theory
Thanks.
is, of course,
I'm not-
that the men
I'm
were
almost done.
abducted by aliens.
Here we go.
That's it.
No, it's not.
Oh, so it's
No, it's not. There's more.
That's
What? Say the rest.
theory 4. Our final theory is that...
What? That's it.
A little throwback there for you.
You're just having fun with it.
I mean, look,
This isn't a serious theory.
110 feet up in the air, got knocked off by something that wasn't man, and there was no signs of a major wave hitting the lighthouse. No signs of a scuffle. They all left. The logs were pristine. Who's to say they didn't see some kind of big-ass light outside? They were like, hey, what's that?
Because they'd be like, hey, nice light.
They're lighthouse keepers. They
Yeah.
love light.
Oh, have you seen our light? What light you got there?
Look, nice big light.
Yeah, that's a hell of a light.
Our light's the best.
This light kicks ass.
There's another light.
Why
Our
am I
light's much bigger
300
than my
feet
light.
off the ground? This is a hell of a light.
Let's get closer to the... It's possible.
Our final theory is that some other supernatural occurrence happened to the 3 Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers. There are legends of water sprites in Scotland, particularly the Blue Men of the Minch, or storm kelpies in the Outer Hebrides, where the Flannan Isles are located.
I suspect everyone watching this is eagerly waiting for me to really dunk on this, but I gotta say I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. Tell me more about these men.
These strong, green-haired creatures are thought to live in caves and sink ships in order to drown sailors. According to legend, if the lighthouse keepers encountered a clan of these sprites, their only hope for survival would be to have the last word in a rhyming duel.
Do you not love the idea that the only way, and I repeat, the only way you can survive a sprite is if you beat them in a rap battle? It says the last word in a rhyming duel.
A rhyming duel. Okay, so here we go, Ryan. Well, I'm a sprite. And
That's your impression of a sprite, just you saying I'm a sprite.
well, I'm a sprite, and I've come to your island, and if you want to live, you're gonna have to meet me.
You didn't even rhyme the first 2 sentences. You said I'm
No.
gonna do it in a rhymey way.
Oh, I thought you had to rhyme with what I said.
You didn't say like, I'm a sprite, let's
And I'm
test
here
your
to-
might.
Okay.
And I'm here on this dark, dark night. Oh, are you waiting for a fright?
No, I'm
You
not.
better keep it tight.
I'm real tough. And I'll
Sure
tell
like
you,
your
I've had enough. I sure do like my big, tall light. And I don't like you, sir. Try as I might.
Looks like you gents are heading for
I
the
like
balls.
playing
If not, you
Hi,
could
that's
suck
like one of my
balls.
characters. It's funny characters.
I know what
It's
I'm
really
being.
nice. I like just like this guy.
There's also a local legend surrounding Moore's arrival on the island. Allegedly, when he entered the lighthouse building, 3 giant black birds perched atop the lighthouse flew off into the sky. People claim those birds were the 3 keepers who were transformed into the avian form as a punishment for violating the supernatural power of the island.
My brain is just, I'm picturing the Animorphs cover of a lighthouse keeper turning into like a crow.
Could you imagine just like them perched atop the lighthouse and they see all these people trying to look for them and they're trying, they're cawing and cawing.
It's us! It's us, please! I'm the bird! It's me! It's me, Mac!
They got little slickers on.
There's the coat! It's on the bird! It got shrunk with them.
A little corncob pipe.
Ashley's Stars and Stripes sale is going on now. Create your stylish summer sanctuary for less with Hot Buy now just $6.99. And for a limited time, you can save up to $1,000 store-wide. Shop more Stars and Stripes deals in-store and online. Only at Ashley.
Well, if you're anything like me, you probably run into the problems that it's hard to find clothes that fit you right. And if you're shopping online, for example, you don't get to tell.
Tragic. It's tragic. It's fun to imagine. And a load of horseshit.
That's what happens when you enter Twilight
I'm
Zone.
not sure it's getting a conversation. I'm done with trying now.
Keepers tended the lighthouse on Elan Moor until 1971, when it was fully automated. For those 70 years, the sudden and eerie disappearance of 3 men charged with manning the island must have hung heavily over the heads of lighthouse keepers in the Flannan Isles, and keepers reported hearing the men's names whispered by someone in the wind. As for what extinguished the lights of James Ducat, Donald MacArthur, and Thomas Marshall 120 years ago, that mystery remains unsolved.
Okay. I'm done with my drawing. Bye-bye.
Well, I gotta
Good night,
say,
or day, whatever time zone it is for you.
dipshit.
I'm going to go to bed. Have a good night.